Hello, I am Lauren, and I felt compelled to talk about this side project that I've been working on for a little over a week now in my spare time. This front end rendering, I know it doesn't look like a whole lot, but we do have 5 pages here, and then we also wrote one blog post and a little bit of scattered documentation that pretty much outlines all the torture that I put myself through to get this tiny little bit of work up here. So this looks like something that someone is running on a local server and just kind of practicing with, and that's actually what it is. No, this will break because it's not up and running. Let's make it run. I'll get to this in just a moment. I just want to look on the front end. Or we can no. Okay, now it's working. So this is the local version, and this is the real public online version. But this is not as legit as it may seem, with the custom domain. It's absolutely coming from GitHub pages. Specifically, what we are seeing is coming from the build branch. GitHub pages needs to see an index in the root of the repo that you're going to deploy from. Do we have this in settings, pages? We have this set here. We're going to deploy from our build branch in the root folder. So that's what we're looking at in the build branch. This is everything that we see live here. Locally, I needed to do this. I can't just make stuff and push it to a live site. That's insane. So I needed to be real and professional and make a local situation. And feeling more comfortable with GitHub desktop front end visual Max UI. That's what I ended up doing. The development branch is what is connected to local. So this on GitHub isn't really doing anything. It's just archiving my work more or less. The development branch we use here. So we can see we're on development. We can Control C to shut that server down for localhost. And if we say git branch, we can see that we're on the development branch. If we write something in the development branch and we want to move it to the source branch, then we're going to use GitHub Desktop to switch to the source branch. This part, you could probably use the terminal to copy some stuff around, but I'm not that comfortable with it. See, now we're in source. So if I put something in development, if I make a change in development, let's say we want to just edit one of our files, initial server setup. Initial server setup was a bit rough, primarily due to the difficulty with the Vultrs dashboard's terminal and the lack of initial SSH key usage. I should add some more detail here. Improvement SSH key-based authentication. Recommendation prioritize key-based authentication for security. So I set up a Vultr server instance and came straight to the terminal, logged in as root, and then set everything up and was like, all right, push it to my domain. I had the domain set up in the dashboard of Vultr and everything, but I had no local development, so I ended up tearing it down. It was a mess. So then I moved over to GitHub. So did we change something? Let's add well, just add something here. This makes it sound like it's Vultre's fault, Vulture, whatever you want to call it, but it's mine. Like, I could have been like a real developer about it, but I wasn't. Okay, so we have this change on server setup doc, and this is in development, but we want to, well, first we want to make sure our change worked. So we can start up our development server here. We know it's going to take a second. Maybe not as long because it's had some time to warm up. Here we go. Local. Reload. That was in docs on initial server setup. Go into more detail about everything that went on wrong on Vultr. So we want to see that same thing here. Initial server setup. It's going to be right here. So to make that happen, like I said, there's probably a better way to do this. I got this guy. It's just a folder, and I keep it close to the project. Delete everything that's inside of stashed files, and then if we open GitHub Desktop, we want to push this commit to development. This doesn't really mean anything on the remote branch. Like, it doesn't, it's inconsequential, but we're just going to keep it up to date in case our files get destroyed locally. Then we've got it saved. So here we want to show this in Explorer, and then we want to copy everything that's inside of the source folder. That's all of this. We could just copy whatever, like the one file, but I like to have one process and stick to that. So paste those in here. Now we're in stashed files. Set this off to the side. Now we want to be in the source branch. Source is what is going to be read, published into build, I guess, and then deployed from there. So we should only have stashed files open, so we want to close our videos, close this too. Leave stashed files open and over there. So now when we open this, it's going to be, no, that's the wrong one. This. It's going to be in this branch. Okay, so now we have this source folder, and this is everything that we have in our stashed files. Includes blog, docs, it's all the content. And structure includes his structure. So just delete all this and then paste in the new stuff. Okay, so that is in our source branch, and we'll know if there's any change and if we did it right if we come here and yep, we got a file change, and that's exactly the change that we had. So this is important that we push to origin, because source is what build reads to create the site. Okay, so we have an action set up on GitHub. So when we make a change to the source folder, we want to make a deployment. We want to trigger work in the build folder. See, update server setup, deploy to GitHub. These are both still waiting. This is super slow. Well, we can go back to development branch, try to stay on that, and continue to work here. I'm going to get rid of some of these for now. Leave the config open because something's wrong there. Okay. These two, create a docs collection and create a blog collection. This is trying to say when you create that collection and list it on the index, like show me everything but the index file. And we're doing the same thing here. Index, docs, blog. But for some reason this is not quite working, because when we look at docs, we see this, which is the index. That's this page. Same here. Blog is the index. It's this page. Is it the title? No. File slug. That's what this is. Index NJK. Index NJK. There's something here I'm not seeing. Some reason why it's not working. Aside from that small glitch, we're also missing headers on all of our blog posts, or the header navigation. That's this part right here. So if I click into this blog post, I'm going to lose this navigation on the top. Like, I can't get back unless I use the back button. So we want to add that for every post. Here's an example of one. We've got H1 title. So we're just missing a header include right here. This is the front matter. This has very little to do with what we see when we look at the page on the front end. So let's copy what we have for the regular index page. It's this file right here. But we're probably going to have to put another dot in there. Let's get that from here. So we're going to need this on all of these. Layered loading. There's one. We'll add them to these as well. Let's fix that. Drop that down a little. Okay, I think that's everybody. So we just made this change across several files instead of trying to think about what that looks like for making changes to the source folder. We'll send this and then copy our work. That's new work. Stashed files. Copy from this. I know this can be done in the terminal. I'm just not there yet. I'll get there. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. Stashed files. Now we gotta get rid of this. can't look at this, isn't telling you which branch, it's just telling you the folder. So let's close this and then hide our stash files over here. Close this down. Now switch back to source. And then we want to show in File Explorer. I could just copy the whole source folder, but see, no file. Control V. No, I must not be hitting the V square in the center. Alright, stashed files. You can delete them so we don't get confused. Then hide this over here. Nothing gets deleted here. This is the source branch inside the source folder. Minimize. And now we should have new work in here. There we go. Headers for posts. Now we basically just queued up a whole nother change for GitHub to deploy. Let's see what it looks like. Should have done this first. But while we're waiting on that, we can look at GitHub and see where you at. Headers for posts, that means that our one little change should be on here, right? There it is, going in more detail about everything that went wrong. Okay, so we got the workflow. The next one coming up, we should put a header up here. When it's there, we go. Nice. Home. About, contact, blog. If we go to this blog, now we have this. If we go to docs, look at this one. Now we have this. Now we have like real actual navigation. And no, this doesn't look great, but we're just setting up the bare bones of the site. So everything that we see inside of this source folder is basically our site. 11d.js in the root for the config, index, contact, about, includes, holds our header. If we had a footer, we'd put that in there. Probably going to ignore that for now. Our blog posts with their own index, and then our docs post with their own index. Next step, I hate to say it, but I'm probably going to get caught up in this. So there's no form right here, and when I do add the form, I'm going to need some way to submit the form. You can't collect email addresses and save user data on GitHub. That's crazy. Yeah, like you can't do it. Even if you could, it's a really bad idea. So let's pretend that we have a form on this page. You fill out the form, you put your name, your email address, your phone number, your favorite color, whatever, and then you hit click submit. Where does that data need to go? Well, something needs to process it. So we're probably going to set something up to call an API and ask that logic to take our form, process it, and save it somewhere. And probably the next video I make will cover that.